Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if you're new here, you couldn't possibly know that I am on a mission to give you everything you could possibly need if you are looking to be more successful in your business. Providing, of course, what you need to be more successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing more efficiently, more enthusiastically, and more effectively sales and marketing in your business. Because, of course, that's what you need. You need more customers more profitably. So if that sounds like it might be interesting or useful, now would be a great time to like, share, subscribe, and comment, get involved, because that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey. And if you're following things, you'll know that we need motivation right now. So what happens here is on a Monday, I'm here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. On a Tuesday, what happens on a Tuesday? Talk marketing. I bring in anyone I can find with information that's going to be useful to you if you're looking to be more effective in your sales and marketing. That's Talk Marketing on a Tuesday. Every other Wednesday, Melanie Farmer comes through and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life. And on the other Wednesday, I review so you don't have to. On a Thursday, I'll be here thinking out loud. And on a Friday, we review the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting or useful, now will be the very best time to like, share, comment, subscribe, get involved, because we need your support. We need your motivation. So today, you lucky sausages, it's that Wednesday in the month, one of those 2 Wednesdays in the month, when Melanie Farmer comes through and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life. It's the concierge of co-creation at Crazy Might Work, Melanie Farmer. Good morning, Melanie Farmer. How are you, sister?
Good morning. Very well, brother. I'm ready to speculate wildly. That's a fair representation of what's about to happen.
It's the only representation of what is about to happen is we speculate wildly. We don't know. But does anyone on the internet know anything anymore? This is my question. It's like we're all here just talking about shit. Good. Right. So we like to start with a boast. Should we start with a boast?
Yeah.
Have you got a boast?
Yeah, for me, last night I met John Cleese, one of my all-time heroes. No, John Cleese, Google the man. I didn't realize that his last name was officially Cheese, and his parents changed their name by deed poll because they thought it was an embarrassing surname to Cleese. But anyway, John Cleese, and he famously says no one knows what they're doing because the best-selling #2 of all-time British comedy shows, Fawlty Towers, was dismissed by executives at the BBC when it was first put to them. So I think he said, take confidence in the fact that nobody knows what they're doing.
Everybody is just making it up, I think, to some extent. So that's amazing meeting John Cleese. John Cleese is one of the archetypes in British comedy. Do you know what I mean? He is like Monty Python, Fish Called Wanda. Amazing. So he's there doing his one-man show, and you went to see that, did you? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so he's here in Australia. He's off to America next. He's 83, so,
God.
Fair play to him carrying on. He doesn't do this often, but, good for him. And
yeah, but he famously has all these divorces to pay for, doesn't he? That's why he has to keep going.
Yeah, he's on marriage. What's interesting, he really was saying he needs the money or whatever, but he's actually now he's looking for a woke joke because he's very frustrated by this whole woke thing that's going on. And he said, if you can tell me a funny woke joke, I'm ready to listen. He tried a couple and nobody laughed. Because basically he said someone went into a bar and said something and then nothing happened. And they all sat down and had a nice time. And we're like, yes, there you go. I've not offended anyone. You were warm and fuzzy and it was the least interesting thing. And he said, you need to talk about death and religion and all these things that, that's what you need to, that's funny. So he's on to find a woke joke, but he said it's really not going to happen.
Yes, interesting. People are making very funny woke jokes now. It's taken a long time to get there. Ricky Gervais has done quite well. I'm not a Ricky Gervais fan, but people are coming up with funny anti-woke jokes finally. So it's good. So maybe comedy will be the way we come through this haze. Maybe it'll be comedy. Here's my boast. I found this morning in setting up for our conversation. This is the lid. Let me put it in focus for you. Of my water bottle that has been missing. I'm not joking, for like 4 months. So this goes on here, and then I can fill this with water and take it to tennis, for example, instead of having to buy a single-use plastic water bottle with water in it on the way to tennis. So that's good news. That's really good news. And I feel like I'm coming back. I've been in a bit of a funk. I've had like 6 weeks, a month off, but I'm making plans to get back up to speed right now as we speak. So that's also my boast. Stand by. We will be back up to full speed very, very quickly. Okay, good. So the thing is, we're not here to talk about John Cleese. We're not here to talk about water bottle lids. We're not here to talk about my summer vacancy, vacation, sabbatical, whatever it was. We're here to talk about the marketing news. So what has caught your attention, Melanie Farmer, in the last couple of weeks since we looked at and speculated wildly about the marketing news?
So they're kind of small stories with big meaning, but it sounds like I've been asleep at the wheel because you're going to probably fill me in, which is always helpful. I've been watching the Tick Tock music takeover of music platforms, not takeover, but growth of the Tick Tock music platform. I'm seeing Instagram's response to the market in terms of video content creation and how they're targeting GenZ with stories. And I thought this was an interesting story about Newscorp, who had, it looks like they had about a $20 million project with Accenture to really make advertising on their platforms more easy and accessible for small businesses. And they've just axed that and ditched that company that they had set up. So there's some meaning to that.
Okay, good. So Instagram, News Corp, and TikTok are yours. Okay, I've got 4 because I expected you to come up with the biggest news that's happened in the last couple of weeks, but you haven't. So I expected that to be duplicated. I think the biggest news that's happened in the last 2 weeks is the rebrand of Twitter as X.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So I think we should talk about that because you love talking about, and I think, well, I don't know, we'll discuss it. I think now this might be a misstep by Elon Musk because it just seems to be so half-assed. Then I've also got news of Canada. In Canada, they brought in a new law that means that the social platforms have to pay for putting the news on. So I think there's a interesting, oh my God, how's my mind? There's an interesting thing there between corporations, governments, big tech. You know, that's kind of interesting. So does it make sense that these platforms have to pay the news, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into it. The other thing I've got then, the next thing I've got is Bud Light have just done a quarter release, and they're saying interesting things about what happened with their brand and how many sales they've made. And then the good news story I've got is about Booking.com, who are talking about marketing efficiency is hitting their bottom line, which is, I think, the message that I want to be putting out on this channel. Everyone's like, oh, marketing's just a cost. Well, it is a cost, so treat it like all of your other costs. Try and get value from it. So if Booking.com are doing that, then I think there's a message there for everyone to do that. So we have to put these things in order. I think the Twitter rebrand needs to be number 1. I don't normally want Twitter to be at number 1. Do we go TikTok number 2?
Yeah,
TikTok,
sure.
It's music streaming service. Okay, cool. And then I've got Canada testing the music. Oh, no, I've got Canada and the news. That can go in number 3. News Core and Accenture screwing up, I think, is interesting. We'll put that in number 4. And then we'll put Instagram in number 6. And then we've got 7. So we'll put Bud Light in at number 7 because it's just going to take a second to say, on the woke theme, just don't be woke. Don't split your audience. I think that's the message. Okay, cool. So shall we go with Elon Musk? I know Elon Musk is your favorite subject. Shall we go with Elon Musk?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. So Elon Musk, obviously there is contention here because the article I'm going with is something very recent. It's 4 days old, this article. Elon Musk's X rebrand explained. This is being brought to us by this company, Axios. This might be the most annoying piece of article I've read on the internet ever. It is really annoying. I'll show you why. So there's a dual lesson here in, like, we understand how to read and write. So let's make it easy for people to read and write. So basically, this thing by Eleanor Hawkins is lots of bullet points. I don't really understand why it's all these bullet points, but it's really, really annoying. But the point that she's making is probably a point that everyone on the internet is making, is that I'll read you some. Elon Musk is singing Bye Bye Birdie with the chaotic rebrand of Twitter. Why it matters at the heart of every rebrand is a shift in corporate strategy, and Twitter has seen drastic change since Musk took over in October 2022. Yes, but, bullet point, why? Just because the act of rebranding makes sense doesn't mean that the rollout of X was a success. Well, I would say arguably not a success. You don't seem to be aware of it. Be smart. Rebrands are ultimately an exercise in change management. Must change the structure of the organisation, massive layoffs, upended corporate culture, altered its revenue model, and has plans to change the function of the platform by transforming the virtual town square into a super app. If he's going to change all of that, he's right to change the name too, says Kumar Sarangi, Professor of Marketing at Santa Clara University. New bullet point. If you're rebranding, it is because you're undergoing a massive change, and that has to be reflected in your vision. So, were you aware of this? Is probably the question that I have.
The rebrand?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I was. Yes.
But you just didn't think it was news this morning?
No. Well, I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, so it's funny. Like, unless it's happening in the day, of us talking,
Okay.
I can be like finished on the subject. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, oh, that's right. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that has happened, such as that. What
Yes.
Can I say one thing about? Okay, so you may or may not have come across World Wildlife Fund's brilliant response. So if you Google World Wildlife Fund Twitter, you will not help yourself. You will have to come across their campaign, which is in response to this this brand change. And it kind of feels a little bit prophetic as well, in my opinion.
Right.
Essentially, have you found it?
I've got World Wildlife Fund Twitter rebrand. It's not taking me to... the WWF has a... The WWF, it seems like they've also got a brand issue because they sound like the Worldwide Wrestling Federation as well. The worldwide devastating take on Twitter rebrand. The Twitter rebrand continues to create a blizzard of controversy from the change in name to the crowdsourced generic logo. It's been a chaotic process. We've seen several big brands poke funds.
Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Image. Back up.
Image here.
Check that image out. Funny. This is talking about X equals extinct. So these are species. The way that they're framing it is that in 2006, this bird was born and then it grew and then it's now extinct in 2023. X for extinction. So I quite like the way that they've done that. And they're basically saying that, millions of people are grieving the loss of the Twitter bird when actual species, 39% of XYZ are going to be extinct, and no one cares about that. So what is interesting is that they've piggybacked the brand change of Twitter with the campaign, right? But I think that's brilliant on their part, and it also reframes our attention about what is actually important. And it's really probably not the change of a brand in the scheme of the universe. We are actually facing a lot of extinction level events, more than ever and faster than ever. And of course, they're going to want to get sponsors, branding, donations out of this effort. But I'd like the way that they've, that they've used that, and that's, kind of generating a lot of activity and awareness around things that are becoming extinct that are maybe a little bit more important. Yeah.
Yes.
Well done, fund on that front.
Yes,
It's funny.
good.
It's what
It's funny. And the thing is, that occurred to me also, is that X doesn't really have the best connotation. Do you know what I mean? It's like extinct, exterminated, X-rated, like
X
your
factor.
ex-partner. X
That's what
what?
they're trying to do is the X factor.
The X
In terms,
factor. Oh, God.
yeah.
So this does appear to me. I mean, the thing is, there is a whole. What is there? There's a whole, academia around rebrands and when it's useful and when it's not useful and how you do it and what you have to do to make it successful and all these things. And this does feel to me like like Elon Musk just woke up one day and went, well, I just fancy X. X is my thing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to make my thing X. It does feel like that. It does feel like there was huge brand value in Twitter. One of the things that I read this morning was about how it's a noun and a verb. So, for example, you tweet or it's tweeting. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's a hard thing to achieve in a brand, in the world, and let alone commercially. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got a commercial brand that is a noun and a verb, like it describes an action, like Google and Googling, or do you know what I mean? Facebook haven't achieved that. And so it does seem to me like I've Googled also how many rebrands actually work, and I can't find the answer to that question this morning. So it does seem to me to be a particularly or an ego-driven kind of unnecessary kind of a thing, because if you look at the value that there is in Twitter, so much of it must have been in that brand. Do you know what I mean? Like a chunk, a percentage of Twitter's value, the 44 billion that he supposedly paid, must have been in brand value. Do you know what I mean? So to change it and to seemingly change it on a whim and to change out of nowhere, and I haven't seen anything about here's the new launch, here's the whatever. He literally put out a tweet saying this thing with tens or hundreds of millions of users is now going to be called something else. Just seems to be extraordinarily poor brand management. That's what it seems to me to be.
Yeah, and I know when it changed, the day it changed for us in Australia, I got an alert to log in, and it asked me to do a bunch of stuff to prove I am who I am and change my password and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you experienced that, but it was very like, we don't trust you, you strange weirdo. You know what I mean? I was like, who even are you? I've never had that logo in my apps before, and so I'm having to look it up. And they didn't say, "Hi, we're Twitter. This is the new logo," and blah. It just said, "Hey, we're X. Well, here's our logo. Log in and confirm who you are in 10 different ways." So it's a very, like, most people I would have thought would have said, "I don't know who that is. Block, unsubscribe, goodbye." I proceeded because I was looking it up and going, oh, that's Twitter. But yeah, I wonder whether that would have been very off-putting for most people. Like a lot of, require, and then no communication about who is this X thing anyway. Yeah, what is this? Some dodgy software. So
right, so I can't log in. I mean, I don't log in often, but I can't log in. It's not finding my account. You have to what? No, it's not finding my account.
Yeah, you can do like forgot password something, but then it's asking you a lot more questions than you normally would have been asked in your original setup. So they're making it very hard for you to get back in. And I think in one way, it's making you really verify that you're actually
I can't get in. It's not letting me in. This is my account with tens of thousands of followers. Yeah, next, right? It's not accepting my password.
Do you have to put your email address in, not your username? right, when it's not clear. So they're going to get, like, anyone who's left on this platform.
So they're losing. They're going to lose.
Yeah, right. And I was like, this is interesting. So my experience with this was they're making it very hard for me to even stay, even if I want to stay. So you can't put your username, you have to put your email address. Then you have to put in a bunch of data that you've not previously put in to prove who you are. Now, that will get rid of all the bots because they would have given up by now. Great. But then I'm doing all of this to get into a platform that looks suspicious and weird, and I've not seen anything about some X thing happening. And when I finally get in there, I'm presented with a lot of, people trying to target me with ads, and as usual, and going, why was I in here in the first place? I can't remember. And it's mostly so I can have an opinion about it, It's not, yeah. So that's why I was quite admiring of, Wildlife Fund to kind of quietly say, listen, bye-bye Twitter, but what about the real world? Yeah, I thought that was clever.
That is clever. Like, well done to the Wildlife Fund, whatever they're called. They've done it. This is now I'm finding something. Is rebranding always successful? Even with a well-defined strategy and thorough market research, a rebranding effort can still fail if it's not executed properly. This can happen when the company doesn't have the necessary resources, such as a skilled marketing team or a large budget to implement a rebranding campaign effectively. That's kind of how I feel about it, is that this hasn't been done well at all. And then why am I not able to access my account? Why do I need to put in? Because let me tell you, when I started this account in 2005, I've got 18 years invested in this. I've got tens of thousands of followers on Twitter. I don't care. I don't know if they're real or not. Why? So at the same time that you give your users the finger and rebrand, and do you know what I mean? I am happy to tell you this is starting to look like a mistake by Elon Musk and Twitter. Why? Why? Do you know what I mean? Why not? Like, it is in the top 5 social medias on the planet, isn't it? It has to be Facebook, WhatsApp. No, Facebook, WhatsApp's not really a thingy. Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. WeChat maybe is going to be bigger. What else is there? Like, in terms of actual social media, this is like one of the 5 biggest on the planet, and it feels like the person who bought it for $44 billion should be more respectful of what it is and its users. So the email address I used to sign up for this in 2005 isn't an email address that's easily accessible to me anymore. So this is going to be, I actually have to make a decision now. Do I want to invest an hour in continuing to be a user of Twitter? And to be honest, I'm not feeling like I do. So there you go. So I'm just lost.
Going to be, you're counted in there whether or not you're going to interact. So if you're not able to access an account, then you're somebody who's a Twitter user that isn't actually consuming or on Twitter technically, even though you are a real human.
Unless, but they do talk about active users, don't they? So I can't be an active user. So I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But now I've got a decision to make about something. As if I haven't got enough to do. Do you know what I mean? As if I haven't got enough to do that I'm not doing already. It's like, I don't need this on top of that.
Easiest decision is to just go bye-bye. Also, I think, like, to your point about tweeting and tweet, I'm going to tweet this and that. You're tweeting because you're a bird. So what they've done is put a big fat X, which looks like the bird has died, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Funny is what it is. It's like, what on earth has happened there? I have a friend who is saying, excellent, the best thing, it's worth $44 billion to shut that thing down because they hate Twitter so much. I don't at all. I don't care. Like, it's, but they are such an anti-Twitter, because it is full of people who just love themselves and whatever. That's their opinion. And they're like, that's worth $44 billion. Just shut that voice off. So they that X is appropriately whatever. Anyway, so interesting.
I mean, I think loosely, my attitude to social media is it's a long time since it's really offered any real benefit, unless you're prepared to invest in the advertising, which for me, it doesn't offer the value that it should. It's a long time since social media has really offered much benefit for marketers. I really feel like that. It's certainly a long time since social media has offered any real benefit for me as a user. So, maybe this is, maybe this is good. Maybe it's put Twitter down. Can't remember the last time I logged into Facebook. It's like maybe this is just it. We need something else to come along now. We need there to be a new media, which is actually interesting and useful for people. Okay, good. So we think the Twitter rebrand is not working. Or it is working
well
if
done.
they're put in a way.
If, let's see, watch this space as well.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, but I'm not going to be on Twitter to know. This is going to be the issue. Because it is going to take me an hour now to put this back together, which I'm not feeling compelled to do. Shall we move on? I'm going, not good, Elon. Could have done much better with this. Much, much, much better. And just like if there'd been a huge ta-da, like here's the brand new thing, here's all the benefits, here's the blah, 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 very exciting. But the fact that it seems to be that he just put out a tweet is not how rebrands are supposed to work, especially if you are one of the 5. I wonder where Twitter is in the most recognizable brands in the world. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
Disney is one of the Disney is one of the most recognized brands in the world, certainly. And when Disney do any kind of rebrand, if they have changed, so they've had a series of CEOs coming and going, and whenever they have a new CEO, everyone gathers, there's a big speech, that person is welcomed on board. They just basically speak a Disney script for an hour to everybody. So they are well on brand, no matter what. So it's all very staged. And I think that's a good thing because it offers certainty for the brand. They don't go off script ever, not once. And even if they make mistakes, they do very public announcements and discussions about those things. And they're constantly coming back to the core values of what is Disney. So they're very, very on brand, and they don't, like Disney Plus, that was a whole journey well before they launched it. So it doesn't look completely un-Disney-like. It looks essentially exactly the same as everywhere else that you see Disney. So they are very different in terms of, so any shaky business of there's a new CEO, they're right on top of it. They're making lots of statements about how we're not going to change the core. We're investing in creativity and playful stuff is in blah, blah, blah. This is like, I'm bored of bird. It's got to go. Let's do black. And we're like, what happened to the blue that I look for on my phone? Like my phone now, I've got to go, hang on, where's my Twitter bird? Oh, that's right. It's a black X now. That's just like, what the hell were you thinking? Anyway.
What the hell was he thinking? Yes. Okay, so the only thing I can find is in Arab News. It goes back to the 28th of April 2022. Says that the value of Twitter increased by 80. The brand value of Twitter increased by 85% to $5.7 billion before Elon Musk bought the platform. So you're talking about a $5.7 billion investment. The thing is, what we know is this is how you break brands. Do you know what I mean? By not, like, once you have a brand, it absolutely 100% has to be managed. Like, for me, Disney isn't the greatest brand. But once you are a brand, you have to manage it extraordinarily carefully because the line between love and hate is extraordinarily thin. You know, once you've got all your eggs in that one brand basket, then people can go, yeah, I like it, or no, I don't like it. And this seems to be extraordinarily poorly managed. Okay, shall we march on to your story? Tick Tock is testing. Is this definitely the second biggest story? Tick Tock, let's not worry about if it's the biggest story or not. Let's do it. What's going on here? Tick Tock is testing its streaming music service in even more countries.
Yep, so it's just sort of scaling up. I think it's interesting to have an impact on the streaming brands. So they are stepping into the land of Spotify and others. So that is interesting to me. They're partnering with Warner Music. So that's an interesting bit of a game changer potentially. So yeah, going for world domination, it's a big stretch and a big step. Now the thing is, in the US, they haven't yet got the trademark of TikTok music because they're technically not allowed to do anything in the US for the moment. Whether that actually is going to concern them too much at this point, I don't know, because they're busy in Brazil and Singapore and everywhere else. Indonesia. And, they're doing well enough to start expanding. So I think Australia just recently, but I mean, I think it is an indication of the ambition of TikTok. And I wonder what their journey is going to be. Are they going to have a similar trajectory of everyone we know and love, in terms of they'll go up and then they'll decline? We don't know. But I think what is interesting is that they're taking on Spotify and Apple Music. And
yes,
that's already
good.
a category. If they do that, how different are they going to be? Is it going to be any different? Because those are both perfectly fine.
Well, they are both perfectly fine, but they are single function apps, aren't they? So what they're saying about the Twitter thing is that the reason they need to rebrand is because it's going to be the everything app, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think Twitter is going to be the everything app. It's going to be the nothing app to me. I can't get in. Do you know what I mean? But this, to me, seems to be a much more intelligent way to go about becoming the everything app. So now TikTok is the browsing, looking at videos, blah, blah, blah app. And now maybe it becomes the music app, and then maybe it becomes the long form video app, and then maybe it becomes the messaging app. And then, so because TikTok obviously and WeChat are much more closely related by geography, this seems to me to be a more sensible way to go about becoming that everything app. If there is going to be an everything app, maybe it's WeChat and TikTok becomes the same thing, and they bring all the entertainment and all the audience. And then, do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it does seem to me, I just like the way that TikTok seems to be going away about their business. I take back what I said about not being able to get marketing value from these platforms. TikTok is the one that is delivering marketing value. Like, whoever you speak to who is engaged in driving social media marketing says that TikTok is rocking it. Do you know what I mean? They are delivering on a large scale. So, this seems to me to be a much more eminently sensible approach. Like, put more content on for more people. They must be, if they're competing with Apple and Spotify, be paying people to be on their platform. So, yeah, I just feel like everything that TikTok does takes them in the direction of being an increasingly good, interesting, useful application. That's how I feel.
I think it's interesting in terms of where business is going with this, because, and I'm going to say something that might sound prejudiced and controversial, which is like the Eastern way of doing business versus the Western way of doing business. And the Western way is very competitive, and the Eastern way in general is more collaborative. So there's this idea of like partnership and doing business over lunch. It's a very different kind of discussions and win-win sort of thing, where I feel like the Western way of doing this is a massive generalization, deeply unfair to many, but it is compete, and hit your targets in the West. And so I'm not saying that TikTok won't have those things as well, but there's, in general, a slightly different philosophic approach to growing through partnerships in Eastern way of doing business. So what does that suggest for what is working? And I'll just put it out there that humans are, just because studied biomimicry, you're a young species who've been around 300,000 years as a species. We're quite young compared to, just cockroaches that are 320 million years they've been hanging out on Earth. So these other species have learned that collaboration is the way that you don't become extinct. The ones that are generally becoming extinct, and 95% plus have over time, those ones have competed. So it's the collaborative species that are still here for the most part, and that are succeeding on Earth with Earth's conditions. So just think, is this a turning point for how business should be conducted more collaboratively, where there's a win-win? And I hope so. And it's interesting how this shift is happening of power in the world.
Yes.
There's my philosophic whatever.
Yeah. And I think if we're talking at that level, then the United States has had almost exclusivity over this entire thing for 20 years. They have left the door open to a more collaborative thing. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't done that at all. They have literally been hoovering up every single cent they possibly can for the last 20 years. They've taken absolutely nobody with them. And so they have left the door open. And this seems to me to be, much more effective. Like, just bring more great content and you will grow your audience. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, one of the criticisms of Twitter and what Musk is doing at Twitter is that he's cleaning out the bots. Whereas before they were just happy to post all those numbers and say these are all our users, when they knew that a significant percentage of those weren't users at all. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think I like TikTok. I like the way they go about their business. I think it is working for marketers. Whoever I talk to says that TikTok is working. The others aren't working for marketers. More power to TikTok. That's what I say. Good. Shall we move on? Because this is going more interesting now in Canada. So Canada have brought in this law, which requires tech companies to pay news outlets for using their content. So this sounds to me to be eminently sensible, but because same thing, like bring content and you bring eyeballs. Do you know what I mean? It's like this is the way media works, has worked since the invention of media. But Meta, the company behind Facebook and Instagram, started blocking news articles on its social networking services in Canada. The change is in response to the law, which requires companies to pay news outlets for using their content. It will roll out over the course of the next few weeks, etc., etc. Google are also going to be following suit. Now, this is just interesting because, why is this interesting? Meta says that the legislation is based on the incorrect premise that Meta benefits unfairly from news content shared on our platforms, when the reverse is true, the blog post said, arguing that news outlets voluntarily share content to expand their audiences. Meta said it had generated traffic for publishers in a 12-month period to April 2022 that it valued at more than 230 million Canadian dollars. The interesting thing about this for me is, like, if you want people to be on your platform, then you just need to give them the content that they're looking for. Do you know what I mean? And if that is news, then you should have the news available. And if you are benefiting as a business by having content on your platform, then you should be sharing the benefit of that with the people who produce the content. Now, I understand this is going to be ridiculously difficult because if somebody shares a link to a piece of news, like Facebook have no, or Google have no control over that. Do you know what I mean? So it is like, if you were a news organization, then you could just employ 50 people to create links to your content all day, every day, and then it would be a tap. Do you know what I mean? Like, Google and Facebook have no option to pay. The really interesting thing about this is it goes to whether these businesses are publishers or not, which goes to whether they are liable for what gets published on their platforms or not. And every time they do this and say, okay, this entire kind of content is not going to be available anymore, and they block it, they just demonstrate that they are publishers, that they are deciding what content goes on their networks. And so I think it's kind of interesting. This is where corporations, like the big tech, media, and the government kind of meet. And I just think it's kind of messy and not useful. I mean, I don't even turn these things on anymore, so maybe I'm not even qualified to talk about it. But I found out really interesting news through social media. Like, I probably discovered that David Bowie had died the first time because a news outlet published it on a social media platform. Do you know what I mean? So that's what it's interesting to me. Is like, do you remember where you were when they landed on the moon? I wasn't born, but people remember where they were. I remember. So the joke had become, the meme had become, do you remember where you were when such and such happened in the last 20 years? Yeah, I was on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's where we were getting the news. So if the actual news isn't coming through these platforms, what is? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Maybe. or not. And what does it mean for marketers? It means for marketers, if the thing that people want isn't on these platforms, then the eyeballs are going to be on these platforms. Which, why would the advertisers then be on these platforms? That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just showing, for me, there is, there's effort in creating good news content, because news is also content. How you tell the news, the research that goes into writing articles or whatever. If you're expecting good journalism and then it's just free, then that's a bit of a dream. It costs money to produce good news, accurate, etc., well written. And so it's weird that we have this expectation that you're going to have really fantastic journalism and it's all free. So I think the news outlets across the world have been crying out for some level of remuneration and so forth for use of this amazing content that they're producing in a way that's no different to, producing a song or a movie. Why is that different? Why should that be free? And it's like that, well, the news is something we should all have access to, sure, but it's not free. It costs money to do that stuff. So if, these social platforms are benefiting directly, where's the partnership in that? Where's the mutualism in that? I don't, and I know that they're saying, oh, we're driving traffic to these websites, but I don't see how that you're going to do that and subscribe. Maybe you are, but I know this played out in Australia recently. 2 years ago, we had the Google Gate. So there was Google, Facebook, and someone else, and they were all these legal battles about, I think Facebook went down for a day in Australia. So nobody could remember where they were when something happened that day, sorry, because there was no Facebook.
Yeah.
And that was because of all of this news platform stuff. So I think it's just sort of shaking out, and I think is a good thing. I think that there needs to be respect for the creators and some mutualism in it, rather than just scraping data and putting it and using it for your own. Really, it's not, you're not helping the BBC by putting all of their hard-earned onto content and and not giving them any kind of remuneration for that. I just think it's
Well, it's not sustainable. Is the thing is, like, if they're not rewarded, then they won't be around. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. And the thing is, now I'm a little bit triggered because I just think the mainstream media are doing such an appalling job. Like, I know exactly, because they tell me every time I read an article. I've read something like 47 articles on The Guardian in the last year, and they want me to subscribe on the basis that I've read 47 articles. And more specifically, they want me to subscribe to their groundbreaking journalism. Well, I don't think it is groundbreaking journalism. I think largely what it is a regurgitation of, like, I don't know, government propaganda. Do you know what I mean? There's no groundbreaking journalism gone on that I can see in the last 20 years. So maybe the mainstream media deserve not to be paid for this stuff. But I just think it's interesting. I think, like TikTok, if you want eyeballs, if you want listeners, audience, then you have to be providing all the content. And exactly like you say, or exactly like I inferred from what you said, like, they haven't taken a collaborative approach. They have hoovered up every cent, these American platforms. And now, obviously, it's going to become more difficult because there isn't going to be anyone producing content if you don't remunerate that content. Okay, good. Shall we march on?
Yeah.
Okay, to your next story. Your next story is Newscorp kills major Accenture-advised advertising platform project. I can't read this because I'm not a subscriber. So you're going to have to tell us what this is about. Here's my initial reaction is, what on earth do Accenture know about advertising? I mean, honestly.
You have nicely summarised the article. We can move on. Because essentially, now, no disrespect to Accenture or PwC or these other large consultancies, KPMG and so forth, but often these groups get paid significant money to come in and do a piece of work. Now, in this case, Newscorp brought Accenture in to develop a platform to make buying advertising in their various platforms, Newscorp's platforms, and they own many different media outlets, to make that easier. And I kind of like that, pick and mix your advertising strategy with News Corp. And, you're a small business and, it's overwhelming. And this was effectively some level of an app, which you could go online and just, say, well, what's your audience distribution, blah, blah, blah. And then you could, make your own adventure.
Yeah.
And I like the premise of that. And it was in response to the massive spike in digital marketing on these platforms during the pandemic. And it was a classic case of what many have done is overinvest and overvalue what is going to happen after the pandemic. This idea that it's going to continue like that after the pandemic. And once people are back out and about. And of course, it isn't the case. So it's the same as what happened with Aldi and in the UK, where just over investing. And so I think the lesson that some businesses, and these are one example, that they made during pandemic is this idea of integrating development with growth. So making the mistake of going grow, not understanding that there's a staged development that you might do. So rather than, because so this is supposedly a $20 million project. That's not nothing. It's a big shift in the business model for them. I don't think they needed to have Accenture in there. And I just think it's frustrating sometimes that there's this huge money paid out and there's no piloting. It's just straight to scale.
Yes.
There was no need for it to be at scale on day one. And that's a mistake that is surprising to me that a News Corp would do. I feel like that, this is where smaller companies can have the agility that's needed if they're well managed. These companies that pilot things and then scale. And just like Tick Tock's doing, it was a much better way of doing it. Like, let's start in Brazil, let's start here, let's start there. Whereas News Corp's gone global domination day one. Let's get Accenture in and smash it out. It's like, that's just the opposite of how we all know that's a bloody bad idea. Just start small, pilot things for God's sake, and then you can scale. But no, they just massively overinvested, and now they've had to lay off a load of staff, cancel the whole thing, and close a company that they had launched. So they launched a company which they own to deliver this platform. It's really overestimating what the demand is going to be. And of course, it's fallen over completely now, and the heads are rolling and whatever. So it's just a mistake. And I do think why Accenture is supposed to be getting involved. They're good at project management, great. But unless they've assembled a team of marketers, the criticism from the marketing community is, I'm sorry, I don't see anyone who's really nailing the marketing knowledge in your project team. That's a big mistake. It's very complex selling media. I mean, anything is complex. I wouldn't want Accenture developing the mission to Mars. You need some astrophysicists in there, and I think they just got the balance wrong in the team. Big old fail. Get it together. Big business. Why are you making these stupid mistakes?
Well, because big businesses do make stupid mistakes. I've got to put a little content piece. Do you know about the iceberg of ignorance? Have you seen the iceberg of ignorance? It's a beautiful little thing.
No.
It was produced. It's an iceberg, basically, and it's about who in a corporation knows about the problems. So the idea is, right at the very depths, under the water, the frontline staff know about 100% of the issues. And it goes up through supervisors, managers, senior managers, blah, 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 to the executives. The executives know about 4% of the problems. So people use this to talk about... The point is, they know about 4% of the problems, but they make 100% of the decisions. So how many of those decisions are actually addressing the problems? How do the monkeys looking up at the tree at their bare bottoms think about this? That's not even the issue. Do you know what I mean? Or like Elon Musk rebranding. Do you know what I mean? That's not the issue. So it is kind of interesting. Corporations aren't dynamic. They aren't innovative. They can't be. Nobody ever went to work for a corporation because they are hugely entrepreneurial or creative or any of those things. They went to work for the corporation because they get a salary every month. That's what goes on. So The thing is, you and I are kind of in competition with these big five type people, not that we're rolling out huge advertising buying platforms, but in the training we do and in the content that we produce and blah, blah, blah. I don't know how, like, one corporation isn't creative, so they bring in another corporation that also isn't creative, and they expect creativity to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this also frazzles my mind. It frustrates me a little bit. I don't care. My experience of digital marketing, doing digital marketing for the last 20 years, is that the people who get it the least, unbelievably, counterintuitively, are media. And I've been telling them for 20 years, not telling them, I didn't speak to all of them, telling them for 20 years, this is, you've done media forever, hundreds of years. This is how we're going to do media in the future. Do you know what I mean? And it's like the most simple thing. You build a list, you put the content together, you have the audience, you leverage the audience. It's as simple as that. Media, for some reason, old media, can't get it, don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Apart from the most senior people in those businesses only know about 4% of the issues. How could they possibly be addressing those issues? Shall we move on to a more good news story?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if it is good news. It's not really good news. I'm not a fan of Booking.com. But the reason I want to talk about this is because at least they are talking, this has come from Marketing Week, they are talking about marketing in the right way. So Booking.com owner hails marketing efficiency in driving top-line growth. This is the point of marketing. You do marketing, you get proactive with your marketing because it affects your bottom line. If, as is reported, the cost of customer acquisition is typically around 33% in the top 500 performing companies in the world, then your mission as a marketer is to drive that cost down, drive the customer value up, and then you are contributing to the bottom line in your business, which is essentially what the owner of Booking.com is saying here. So Booking.com expects to spend less on marketing this year as it focuses on efficiency and ROI continues. Why would you be focused on anything other than efficiency and ROI in your marketing? Because people are out having lunches talking about they could do, I don't know, some fucking rebrand for no good reason. So what they're saying, the travel booking company's revenues grew 27%. 27%. Like their revenue is up 27%. So I've got this thing when I do my customer experience course where I say to people, like, you've got options in your business. Like, the way to make more profit is either to squeeze the customer more, literally see how close you can get the fat guys sitting next to each other on the aeroplane, or you can give them a much better experience. Do you know what I mean? When you give your customers a much better experience, then your profits go up by tens of percents. Like, you can put the two fat guys closer and closer and closer together. You might generate another 0.5% or a 1%. You've got two miserable customers. Do you know what I mean? But when you give them a good experience, then, you know, it goes up tens of percent. So revenue up 27%. And its adjusted EBITDA grew 64%. Like, this is insane. In total, the business booked 268 million room nights in the second quarter, a 9% increase year on year, while its gross bookings of 39.7 billion represent a 15% uplift on last year's Q2 figures. So this is like driving efficiency. So this is why I want to be here saying this today, is because this is the point of marketing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Is driving the profitability of your business. And you do that by driving efficiency in your marketing and giving your customers a better experience. And that is how you achieve growth, which it seems to me is what Booking.com are talking about here. 15%, 20%, 67%. This is what happens when you drive efficiency in your marketing and give your customers a good experience. I'm not a fan of Booking.com. I do think they are raping every hospitality business in the world, but fair game. They're playing the game right. That's everything I have to say about this.
So I've got two things to say about it. One, Airbnb's recovery post-pandemic far outstripped many of these others.
Okay.
And that is because during the downturn, which is really extraordinary. So I've written a case study about them, really interesting what they actually did and how they communicated to their staff and all of that. You know, it's a really interesting story. Very public with it as well. Yeah. So I can send it to you.
Okay, cool. That'd be great.
Yeah, the CEO really managed the the downturn incredibly well, and then the pivoting that went on with them, and they far outperformed, like 40% higher than everyone else, far outperformed in the recovery. But I would also say, like, just a caveat to, of course they're going to get 27% growth, because what happened in 2021 was sort of coming out of lockdowns. 2022, as predicted by several epidemiologists on what always happens post-pandemic. It's not like we've never had a pandemic in the world before. We've had several: Chinese flu, Black Death, and so on. And always people become religious, they lock themselves in their house, then they start to travel, and then it goes full 1920s roaring 40s kind of party time. So
Can I just check? You're not saying there was a spike in tourism immediately after the Black Death? You're not saying that?
Yes, everyone went out of their
house. There wasn't. The Black Death was in the 16th century.
Yes.
There was a spike in tourism. Was there tourism in the 16th century?
If you think of tourism as I leave my house and I go and I go to events and theatre and I have parties in the streets, right?
Serious?
So yes, and the same after Spanish flu, and the same after other, like what's pandemic, endemic, where it's not a worldwide, anyway, epidemic, right? So when epidemics come and go, we tend to become religious, and then we start to go out and we go back in, out, and watch what's happening with everyone else. Now, the prediction was made in 2020 by several epidemiologists on podcasts and so forth, that 2023 and 2024, we're going to see this pattern recur, which is extreme tourism, people being debaucherous, reckless in a good way, out in the streets, going crazy, partying, traveling, not wearing masks at all, being completely the opposite, because that's a correction. And this is a pattern that is predictable and known. So, I mean, no matter how flawed you are as a tour operator, you're going to get business and it's going to grow. And the same is happening with cruises. So this idea that the cruise industry is going to collapse, well, they're booked solid for the next 2 years. That these people who want to go on a cruise, you'd really struggle not to fill, even though the whole idea was that's where it all started, and then all these bad things happened on cruises with respect to pandemic, and you're all going to be sick on the boat. That hasn't affected them. The recovery is as expected. So I'm not saying that Booking.com are not getting it right as well, but it's not as surprising to me that it's so significantly uplifted in 2023, and I think we have another year of that in 2024. So you're seeing all of these, Flight Centre and Thomas Cook suddenly having these great sort of look at us go, rightly so, because we're all out and about traveling again.
Okay, I'm interested in that Airbnb case study that you've written. And what I want to say about this is maybe I just got overexcited because I saw the words marketing efficiency, because for me, that is the point of marketing, is marketing efficiency. Do you know what I mean? Understand your mission as a marketer, drive down the cost of our customer acquisition, drive up the customer value, then you are rock solid in your job forever. You can say pounds and pence, this is the value that I'm delivering to the business all day, every day. And it doesn't seem to me that it's focused on this. I want to see that Airbnb thing. We can move on from this. I've made my point. You've made your point. I think it's good. I had no idea there was tourism in whenever the Black Death was. So I've learned something today, 100%. Okay, good. Your next story is a big one about Instagram celebrating Gen Z connections in short film-led campaign. What's the significance, Melanie Farmer? No, why are they doing this? More bullet points.
I know. Look, the image just above probably is the best way of consuming. There you go. So
right.
What this is short Hollywood style videos, character driven stories, and so it's kind of inviting a bit of a Hollywood, version of people's little lives. Somebody who sells fries in a fast food shop and is also studying design at the college and her friend comes in and all that, you know. So these are little moments.
Shall we watch one? Is it cool?
Well, there's 3 minutes long.
Oh, okay.
Can do.
Shall we watch 5 seconds of one?
Okay, yeah.
What up, Amber?
Hey, what's good?
How much? Can I help you with anything? Need anything up here?
Yeah, can you grab some more, please?
Most definitely.
Cool.
Hey, I had a to-go order.
Yeah, the small Jen for fries.
Wait.
I mean, the small
fries for Jen.
for Jen. Yeah. I think you're in my history class, right?
Yeah, I recognize.
God, this is annoying. I don't want to watch anymore. If this is what Gen Z like, they're welcome to it.
Well, listen, of course, this is not what they're actually going to post. This is the ad for what they could post, is the thing, right? So,
all right.
The idea is that actually you can tell, you know, your life story in little moments, and it's Instagram's, I guess, journey in making longer form videos, because TikTok is your 30 seconds, right? So I think that they are going, we can't compete with that. What we need to do is something different. Now, it's interesting to me because this platform is supposed to be the not even 1 second, like it's photos. And now they're saying turn these into videos and make longer form stories. And so, you know, these are like short films, and that's what they're inviting. And I think what they're trying to do is go for an audience that potentially has a longer attention span. I don't know. Grab that audience through this idea of story and long form. So that's an interesting idea. Yeah.
It's an interesting idea that they are convincing people to create content, maybe. The problem is Gen Z don't have life stories. They haven't lived a life. They're not very old. And interestingly, like here, if Instagram need to learn something, it's how they make their videos embeddable. Because look, they've just embedded this from YouTube. Do you know what I mean? This is like something that they could do. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Look, the recommended reading here, TikTok remains top social app for teens despite drop in favorability. They're grasping at straws. Instagram, all of these places, they're grasping at straws, I think. I can't see. So basically what they're saying is you can now put these messages and emojis and memes over the top of your videos. Good. I hope it works out for Instagram. I suspect it won't. Shall we go to the very last story? This is one of my favorite topics. Which is Bud Light Backlash. AB InBev reports volume decline in the US. AB InBev, which is the company, apparently there's another company, Anheuser, Budweiser or whatever, that owns Bud Light, outperformed analytics but was weighed down by a 14.1% decline in volume sales in the US, with its CEO saying consumers want beer without debate. Oh my God. So beer business, blah, blah, down, 14% drop in thingy. Asia Pacific grew 9.5%. EMEA didn't really move. I don't know. This for me is just another salutary tale about people don't want any kind of debate. Just deliver the value. Do you know what I mean? If you're making beer, give them the beer. Do you know what I mean? Don't cloud it with your perception of the way things should be in the world. Nobody's very interested in what a beer company thinks about anything other than how they make beer. And this ties in with the first story for me about the Twitter rebrand, which is once you've got all your eggs in one basket, the line between love and hate is really thin. You know, people might love you 1 second and then you do something that really upsets them in a second and they all go away. So this is down 14%. The last figures I saw was the valuation of Anheuser Bud or whatever they're called was down $15 billion. So for me, Booking.com are talking about the way you do marketing. This is 100% the way you don't do marketing. You don't go to minority issues and expect everyone to go with you. Are you still hearing me, Melanie Farmer? Okay, so that was it. Melanie Farmer never came back. The internet denied each other, but I think that's a great place to end. I think we can all take notice of what the CEO of Bud Light has learned, which is that people want beer without the debate. So if you are providing people with beer, you don't need to cloud the issue with your opinions on this issue or that issue or the other issue. Just focus on delivering value for your customers and making sure that they know that you love them. Okay, so that brought us to the end. So if you haven't yet, now is the second best time for you to like, share, subscribe and comment and get involved and give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey. And you will see Mel and I delivering the news and speculating wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life in another couple of weeks. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of Marketing Review. If you found this interesting and useful, then YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this. And this is the latest thing that we've produced. If you haven't yet, and you could take a second to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of those good things, that will give us the motivation to continue on